another Let's Talk. As I said, this one is a special edition of Let's Talk because it's normally on a Wednesday, but here I am on a Friday. And it is special because I have somebody special with me too. So I have my niece coming in from Bangalore, India, and she is joining me live tonight. And we are going to have part two of our conversation. We have spoken before, and believe me, you would not want to miss this conversation. And so, thank you for joining me wherever you are. And as you join, I hope that you will share with your friends and whoever will join with you so that your friends can join us and we can have this conversation. I have Suveda Priya Emmanuel with me coming live. And when I come back, I am going to talk to her. So hang in there, my friends. When I come back, we will talk. ORB Ministry presents Let's Talk with the Doc. Grace Without Borders podcast. A thought for you. Ask Pastor. And a whole lot more. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. All right, my friends, everybody, everywhere. Thank you for joining me wherever you're joining me from on tonight. Of course, I have with me, as I said before, I have with me Suveda. Suveda is joining me from Bangalore, India, live. And by the way, they are 10 and a half hours ahead of us. So it is 6:30 a.m. in Bangalore, India. That is Saturday, 6:30 Saturday in Bangalore, India. So I tell you, it's a sacrifice in the fluctuation of time for her to wake up early and to join me here. But I'm so excited to have her. And those who have joined the first time in the summer when we had our first conversation, you would know what the story was like. And as I said, it has gotten maybe worse before it got better. So I am thankful and excited and happy that she can join me a second time. All right, so Suveda, welcome back to Let's Talk with the Doc. I'm so happy to have you again. How are you doing?
Hello, Uncle. Good morning from India, and I am doing absolutely fine. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing fine as well. It's been quite a long time since we could connect back.
Well, I am doing fine, and I am thankful that I am doing fine. I give thanks for goodness and mercy that has kept me, and I am thankful that God has kept you too, in spite of all. And
Mhm.
I stretch that all because I want to put the emphasis on all, in spite of all that you have been through. God's goodness
Yeah.
and mercy still is extended to you.
Yes.
um how before I don't want to go into too soon into how, by the way, how is your father doing?
He's doing a little better. I mean, from what he was, I think he's gained a little bit of strength. But yeah, we are having on and off a lot of fluctuations. But yeah, by the grace of God, he's doing well.
I'm glad to hear that. Please say hi to him for me, and I wish him the
Definitely.
best as he recovers and get back
Yes,
to his
definitely.
previous strength. I know it must be a real challenge for him because he's a man who likes to move, a man on the go,
Mhm.
and to be limited with the impact of COVID. Let me ask you also, how is COVID? How is COVID in India now? I know it was really bad not too long ago. How is it now?
Yeah, COVID, from the time we spoke last time, I think in the month of April, May, and June, it was devastating. I think the government kind of woke up to all its tragedies. I think there was no family that hasn't lost or known a person who hasn't lost a person in India, and that's quite a large number. And we lost most of our youth, like I mentioned the last time. We probably, on an estimate, must have lost 20 to 30% of our youth, and even the
You have lost a
population that,
lot of young people.
yes, around the age group of 18 to 40, a lot of them, a lot of them.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
my husband was
Well,
36.
I
So,
know your husband. And again, my sympathy and condolences to the family for you losing your
yes,
husband.
yes,
So
yes.
I didn't know that there was that extent of effect on the younger people. Do they know what's the cause of the effect on younger people?
Maybe, I mean, the first wave, what happened in 2020, it's again sources, and it's all no basic source that is backed by any kind of evidence, because the medical fraternity across the world were in a shockwave, because I mean, it was too much for them to handle, because even before you think that you've already conquered the virus has got the better of you, and you just don't know. And now, I think the first wave was very, very extensive. It affected people who were anybody above 60 and who had internal mobilities, like, if they had even um, blood pressure or sugar, or anyone who's of an older age and they had some other ailment along with that. That
Mhm.
was the key, actually. So that's why most of our country was hell-bent on getting the elders vaccinated, who are
Right.
above 45. So I think we thought we saved the country, but the worst was yet to come. So I think in the month of April, the second wave, the virus load was very high, and they say it's the Delta variant. It's
Right.
another intensively aggressive variant, and probably the reason, what I understood after listening to so much, and also after being a part of um, one of the victims of the virus, is uh, the the intensity is too fast. Even before you can react, you've lost the person, and in
Mhm.
fact, the person himself or herself, before they can realize what is happening, they're just gone, because youth are generally known to have a stronger immunity compared to
Right. Exactly.
the yeah. So the immunity has become their worst enemy. So they also say it's called happy hypoxema. So
Really.
people get into a stage of hypoxema. Hypoxema is nothing but your body is not reacting to anything, that your internal organs are fighting a battle inside, because
Hmm.
you're so strong with immunity, and
Wow.
you just don't react. You don't have like cough, or you don't have any kind of symptoms that it shows. Like if you have a flu, because your nose is down, your running nose, your head is down, or you feel very nausea, and I just wanted, those are your symptoms. But for people who are young and very healthy, they don't realize that there is even a fight that is happening. So that was the case for many people that we know, not just my husband, because my husband was not an alcoholic, neither was he into smoking, and he was a very healthy person, and he didn't have any symptoms that was listed in COVID-19, the new latest Delta variant. No symptoms at all, and it's just the saturation starts to dip when the body is actually ready to let go, and that's when it hits you, and it hits you very fast, even before you can know. And
I'm a little curious. I'm a little curious on that because I've never heard that. I've never heard that, and that is
oh,
interesting because you're saying you're saying
mm,
that while they were focusing on the elderly, and everybody was kind of focusing on the elderly
yes,
to try to have them vaccinated and be protected as much because of the compromised immune system or just by age itself,
yes,
right? But you're saying you have lost a whole lot of young people who had who contracted the virus, but they did not have the symptoms of the virus. They didn't have the symptoms, so they were going along in their lives until like it got the better of them before they begin to realize something was happening.
Yeah, I mean, they had the basic symptom of fever. So, fever was one of the basic symptoms.
Hmm.
I mean, high temperature
Hmm.
and normally fluctuating temperature. So, going by the thumb rule that was set up by the medical council across the globe and even in India, the first wave, it only said that you need at least 2 or 3 days to identify that that fever is actually getting into your body. So,
Right,
like the first symptom of flu or the first symptom of cold is not something that you can identify the virus if you go and give your
right.
COVID RT-PCR test. So they say you need to wait for 2 days. But with the new variant that happened, 2 or 3 days waiting was the cost of lives. So
Oh my.
that's something. Yeah, by the time we realize, because you did have symptoms, but the symptoms were not as severe. What I'm trying to say is you had flu, you would just take your flu medicine and lie down. But internally your organs are all fighting it out, and you don't feel that kind of symptoms, like sometimes loss of smell, loss of taste. When
Right.
I had COVID along with my husband, I had those symptoms. I had loss of smell, I had loss of taste, but he didn't have any of them. He didn't have loss of smell, loss of taste,
Mm.
and he didn't have fatigue, he didn't have diarrhea. So these are all symptoms which are extremes. For people who are pretty low in immunity, it shows up. But for people who are pretty strong, they don't realize any of it. And until your lungs are completely, your blood starts to get thick, and then you're losing your lungs, and the infection is spreading. It's more or less like pneumonia, right? COVID
Hmm.
is nothing but pneumonia, which is in a much advanced stage, and which speeds up the process. So as the virus is spreading, it starts to coagulate your blood, and it starts to make your blood very thick, so the stream doesn't go up to your brain. And
Mm.
when your organs start to dysfunction, it could be lack of oxygen. That's why you start to suffocate with your lungs, and then people get a stroke. So, I mean, that's the last stage normally. And before you can identify one of these many symptoms, it's too late for even the medical system to like get back to you. And to add to
I
it,
go ahead,
sorry,
go ahead.
yeah, and to add to it, we have a large population.
Yeah.
And what surprised me in my entire 35, 34 years of my life in Bangalore, there was never a time where we had scarcity of beds in the hospitals, but it happened this year. So, in the month of April, May, and June, there were practically no beds. People died on the way to the hospital. People died because they didn't have any supportive system to keep them alive, and people died waiting even for medical care. And the people who actually survived even after going was a very very meager chance, because you think you're getting your oxygen, you're getting your miracle drug, you're getting your steroids, you're getting your blood thinners, but by then the virus already has a very heavy load in your body, and it's
I
fatality everywhere.
it almost sounds like I'm talking to a medical doctor. I'm saying, like I'm talking to a medical doctor. My friends, I'm talking to Suveda Priya, and she's coming, Emmanuel, and she's coming live from Bangalore, India. I met her years ago, and met her family, and got connected, and for the past what? For the past 12 years, we have been
Yeah,
connected for the past 12 years, somewhere thereabout. We have been connected, and her story is one that is as intriguing as tourists get. I spoke to her, I think, in May this year, May or June this year, and she had just recently lost her husband to COVID, and she had it with her husband, but her husband passed away, and then fortunately, and when she thought it was going to get better for her, it actually got worse later on. So we will get to that point, but something that she just, and you could just hit your share button right now wherever you are on Facebook or YouTube. You join us, it's time to hit your share button, and because her story has been one of interest, and I'm sure it's not going to be any less this time. So as we go into this conversation, I'm still trying to digest this, Saveda. I'm still trying to digest this, that the young people, because over here,
Hmm.
young people were better able to resist.
Yeah.
Eventually, quite a few died. And I don't know what are the reasons behind it, whether they have compromised immune system or whatever. But I'm a little surprised to hear what you say, that was the major impact on the young people in India because of their health and the strong immune system. They
Yeah.
contracted the virus, and not having mild symptoms, not reacting to it, or not taking it serious that it was a virus, just think maybe it could be a cold, regular flu. But at the same time, while they were just like treating it mildly without symptoms, it was internally destroying them.
Yeah.
That by the time they realized that this is more than a flu, it was a death sentence almost already.
Yes, yes, you're right. You just said it right. But I mean, even before an individual can realize what the symptoms are, you know you have flu. So the thumb rule was you would get all right in 14 days or 15 days. So the first wave of COVID in India only spoke about having self medication. They'd give you a set of tablets that you have to follow,
Mhm.
which is like, your fever reducers, your antibiotics, and some of them are steroids and blood thinners. Then you need to have some warm food, take rest. It's about just making sure that you get your right medicines. That's how 2020 went. But 2021 was a completely different table turnover. And even after taking your medications, sometimes it's the virus load. I mean, it's the kind of mutant virus that they say it has mutated. So the
Mhm.
genetic makeup of the virus was much difficult for us to even handle. That's why even in the US and in the UK, we had like crazy amounts of deaths, which was there throughout. And I'm sure many people didn't expect that they would even like probably lose their lives because they were very certain that they would be all right.
Right.
And the irony is that India's management, most of the medical management, they decided to give the vaccination to people who are below 45 from the 1st or the 2nd of May. Actually, that was the date that they had announced. And they wanted to make sure that all the youth is also, vaccinated.
Mm.
And most of the youth was scheduled to come in the first week of May. We were scheduled to get the shots probably by May 7th, that my husband and I, but he passed away on the May 2nd. So even before that you can get your vaccination, the vaccination drive did help, but probably if we had the drive a month ago, maybe we could have saved a lot of people.
Mhm.
But May and June was devastating across the country, and I'm not only talking about Bangalore. You had cases registered across the country, and the medical fraternity, we've lost a lot of doctors, leave
Mm.
alone individuals, because the ratio of patients and doctor was close to probably 2 is to 10, because you have so many patients, and it's overwhelming for everyone to identify. I mean, now we're sitting in a very comfortable position and we're able to talk what had happened, but when we're actually at the scene, that's a
Right.
different level. It's i found that I found that reality hitting my face when I went to my husband's burial, because I didn't get to see him the day they told me he passed away, because I had passed out completely. And probably 10-15 minutes before the burial is when I went to go and see his burial with him. I think in the span of an hour they had about 50 plus people getting buried. It was like mass burial.
Wow.
It's a different level to see it on television, and it's a different thing to see it live and you are
I
a part of it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
could
when you.
imagine. I could imagine. The reporters only catch synopsis, or they kind of edit what they broadcast, but to see the whole picture live on the spot, it's a whole different story.
Mm, yes, and
Um,
you be a part of it is even more nerve chilling, because you don't want to believe that it's happening to you, but you have no choice but to actually be a part of that.
mhm. So the Delta variant, the
Mhm.
Delta variant was the most devastating because it was the generic of the original, and they said it was more contagious. It kills faster. It moved more
Mm.
rapid, and all of that. Do you know how many people that they've lost in India since, as a result? I mean, for the record, that which they can account for.
Honestly, I can't say. I mean, I don't think even they can, because a lot of deaths went unaccounted. But
Mhm.
I'm just giving you. If we have to say we had 100%, we must have easily lost 20 to 30% of the population overall. It's a
To
lot.
30% of the population.
Yes, I'm certain of that.
And
At least one.
India is 1 point what? 1.2
Eight.
billion people?
Yeah, it's close to 2 or 3, I guess.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of
That's
people.
that's a lot of people, yeah. And I'm talking collectively, some
Mhm.
which are reported, some which are not. Many people um, didn't report, or some of the deaths were not recorded. And what's happening is we are still getting provident fund insurance claims for the people who passed away in the month of May, even now in November. So you can imagine the process is so extensive that they're still settling their insurance claims, and they're settling their provident funds, their e-provident funds for employees. I'm talking about.
Wow, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. I'm talking to Suveda Priya, and she's coming live from Bangalore, India. So and by the way, as I look again just on the good side of the story, I look at and
Hmm.
I just glance through your bio, and it is so amazing, the level of education, the level of intelligence, and for one, just to listen to your conversation is like all of the subjects you're able to communicate on all of the subjects. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what was the demand for you as a young girl when you growing up at school? What was the demand on you for school or for education? Was that something that came down from parents, or was that something that was motivated by Saveda as she discovered what was the driving force for you to expand to the level that you have in education?
Hmm. I mean, that's a really nice question, but I never gave a thought to it. But yeah, probably I will now. But I think from the time that we were studying, I'm talking about, that was a non-social media age. I would like to put that on air for sure, because we didn't have WhatsApp, we didn't have Facebook, and we weren't so involved in these kind of activities which can actually captivate our talent and our efficiency. I put it that way. Most
Mhm.
of the youth nowadays, I'm not trying to say that people who are social medially active are not efficient, but then
Right.
it takes a considerable chunk of your time away, which you can probably use in getting something more done better in a much more effective way. So for us, probably performing in a college and studying, I mean, it depends on individual interest also, I feel. Because for me, studying and probably learning new things has always been a motivating factor, because because knowledge is something that cannot be taken away from you. When you learn it for once and you remember it. So you
Right.
can take away any kind of physical assets, like, which is like tangible. So knowledge is intangible, and it's going to stay with you, it's going to retain. And knowing it is always better. And if you can master it, it's good. But if you're just running after some physical object, like you just want to get a particular car, you want to get a particular kind of a building, I don't know. I think that wouldn't also last pretty long. So most of our education system, the schooling that I had, we had a very value-based Christian school, and most of our professors were genuinely great lecturers, and genuinely they
Mhm.
taught us very good stuff, which they would say, you need to excel in your particular field. It's like, if you pick up a field, try to master it. In case you cannot, that's okay, but at least give it your best shot. Then would you know if you are capable or not? It's not like you just skim through a course because you just got into a course, and then you just give up saying, I didn't give my best. So if you give your best, you would actually know if you can or you cannot. So probably that has been my motto most of the time. Is like, if I'm going to take a course and if I want to learn something, maybe I'll try to give it my best. and let's see if I can make it or I can't. So probably that has been.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends, wherever you are, I won't even begin to look. I won't even begin to call the level of education, the thing that she has pursued and succeeded in life. And I don't want to label anything, but from my own assessment, is
Mhm.
this one of the greatest achievers that I have to account, one of the greatest achievers. And boy, not only did she educate herself, but she involved herself in and the number of things that she's been involved in that I can't even begin to talk about. But I want you to tell me something, and I'm going to get into her story, right? I'm going to get into her story. And if you watch the first part of her our conversation in the summer, you would understand what is going to be coming in this part. Because as I said, she lost her mom, then she lost her husband in a week or so to COVID. She was sick, both with her husband. Her husband died while she was passing out, and then she felt better, and then got worse. So what we'll hear later on is that it got worse before it got better, and nobody I know can articulate it better than Suveda, who can. She is as articulate as it gets. She is as involved as one can get. Um, as diverse as one can get. So, I see my wife is just saying. I know she want to say she's amazing, and I know that's why she want to say, because she knows about you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to the intricacies of your story, but tell me a little bit about your the wealth management consultancy, investment and portfolio advisor. That means you've been in finances and the stock market and stuff like that.
Yes, yes.
Give me a little hint, and we're gonna move on, just to tap into your level of knowledge, experience, education, involvement. Incredible.
I mean, those are really extremely kind words that you use for me, Uncle. I mean, that's really, I think it's over the top. But yeah, I mean, I did whatever I could with that. I mean, I feel with whatever we have, if we are able to make the best use of our resources that are available, I mean, that's when you can actually reach your better self, And I believe having competition with your own self is the best way to compete, not having yourself to compete with somebody else or trying to have a goal. You can have legends or people who you can follow their tactics or probably a life story, and then you can say, oh yeah, maybe I want to get somewhere there. But you just can't take the same journey because your life is very different. But probably you can just pick up some of their elements, maybe the kind of struggle, because what happens with every person is unique. And that's something that we need to understand, because our God also makes us very unique from the part of our DNA. From starting from there, we are unique. And the sooner we realize that we are unique, so our paths will be unique, our thoughts can be unique. But I don't believe in going into the crowd mentality and trying to fix ourselves into something which is very, very conventional. Try to be unconventional and try to be that way you can actually, whatever the path.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This young lady is incredible. And by the way, not only yes, and I agree with you, because my wife just said that, and I was just gonna come back to that, because I love that thought where you said compete against yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you compete against yourself, that means you don't need no external motivation. You
Yeah.
don't need somebody to inspire you. You are inspiring yourself to compete against yourself. And that's your philosophy. That's the
Yeah.
driving force behind your level of accomplishment, because you are never satisfied with Suveda. You're never comfortable that Suveda has had enough, has studied enough, has learned enough, has been involved enough. You've never been comfortable. You always challenge Suveda to do something else.
Yeah, the world is so beautiful. I mean, God's given us talents. Otherwise, I mean, I think you know the story of the servant and the master who gives talents. I mean, he distributes So I mean, it's easier to just go and dig it up and say I've saved it up, but it's better to use with whatever you have. Even if you have one talent, try to explore that one talent that you have, and maybe you'll just go places. And I would believe not necessarily that you have to be in the limelight, or you don't need somebody to come and validate you. If you can validate yourself, that's more than enough, because you need to satisfy yourself, that yes, I've
Wow.
done my best. So that's very important. I believe in that.
Oh my goodness. I this should have been a youth session where we have a motivational speaker or an
Oh,
inspiring speaker to speak wisdom into young people, or into anybody for that matter, because I am trying to digest that. And my friends, other than the academical achievement and the physical involvement in things in the community and church and otherwise, she is
mm,
one of the most gracious and grateful Christians that you will never meet. And we're gonna get into that part later on, because her story is so incredible, and her attitude toward her story and her experiences is amazing. Everyone can be encouraged with just her approach to the tough things in her life. We're gonna get to that. All right. So I'm just tapping to a couple of the things that she did. Um,
no, I didn't get to answer your question. You asked me about the finance, and I
yeah,
tend to
yeah.
leave that. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
For me, finance has always been one of my personal interests, because as we are physically present on earth, of course, because for Christians, it's always earth is just a passing time and we have to go to a greater place, to heaven. But since we are here, we generally tend to become very complacent, which is not right, because, with you have what you have. So with finances, I think trying to manage that, because I think the whole world runs after money and money runs you completely at some point of time. As long as you're alive and as long as you're here on this planet, you definitely need money, and money is a means for everything. But it's not the end of everything. That's what I mean. If you can identify that difference, that's more than enough. And if you can manage it, and if you can manage it well, that's all that matters. So for me, financial markets and trying to identify why the world is having such dynamics, especially economics. We have economic disparities, like, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. I think that's a statement that every economist talks about. But it always intrigued me as to why does it happen that way? Why can't poor even get richer? And why can't there be equal distribution of resources most of the time? So that's what actually gave me that interest to actually pursue financial education. And earlier we had outcry system in the stock markets across the world. We didn't have stock markets which was managed online and you can trade, and not many people knew what trading was.
Right.
And like some one or a couple of people who knew what trading was, they monopolized it. And of course you had a lot of scams, you had a lot of earning. It was obviously scams happen when somebody has a better knowledge of you, and they just take the best out of everyone. So, I
Mhm.
mean, that I would say is because they were smarter than us. So, for us to outsmart them is to probably equip yourself with that kind of knowledge, so that you have an equal competition. And I think now the world has reached a point where everyone's equally equipped. Of course, social media and the web presence has its own pros and cons, like every technology for that matter, whether you're talking about um, it could be social media, it could be your print media, anything. They have their own positives and negatives. But if you can forge ahead with the positives than not the negatives, I think that's going to be the best in any field for that matter. But portfolio management has been one of my crazy interests, because, to see the dynamics across the world, like when you're trading and stock markets, and you are actually a part of a system that decides the economy. So, and the ups and downs, and you may have a role to play, and you have actually reached a point. That's very, very intriguing for me.
A lot of us in my age group who didn't grow up in the with the access or even the thinking of investing in the stock market,
Mm,
etc., etc. A lot of us older, a lot of people are not familiar with with what trading is like even now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even though there are tools at your hand's length, many of us
Hmm.
still don't know what are the intricacies, the
Hmm.
approaches, the principles of getting into the stock market and trading, and when to sell, when to buy, what to look for. A lot of us are still not familiar with that. So some of us might
Yeah.
need to talk to you offline. And
I mean, it gets a little tough because that's not tangible. Whatever we are trading in stock market is all
that's
about. I mean, it's more of a mind game. So
yeah,
it's like mind over matters, and it
yeah, yeah.
you need to be
It's up,
smart.
it's ups and
Hmm.
down, it's up and down. Yeah,
Because you don't get a ready-made commodity like you go to a market or you go to a grocery store. You get money's worth. You get an object that you can touch and feel, and that's more easier for a human brain to actually accept, because if you're paying something, you're receiving something. But stocks is something that you can't see, touch, or feel, and you're just playing with numbers. And even the money that gets credited into your account is again a matter of many people trying to talk about it, and a collective group trading. So it's all based on a trust, on a factor that, yes, my trading is going to yield me that kind of investment. So trust and your gut instinct actually plays a big role here. So it's a pretty risky proposition, but the more the risk, the more the returns. That's the thumb
well,
rule for finance.
yeah, good. The more the risk, the more the return, and
Yeah.
there has to be some smarts and awareness and a consistency in tracking, following, uh,
Hmm.
knowing what type of trading to do, know when
Yeah.
to know to identify danger signs or red flags or yellow flags, and say, okay,
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna sell now because this looks like it's gonna go the wrong way. So there's a lot to it, and the younger brains can process that fast enough as they can type with all
Hmm.
their fingers that they can, by the time some people realize that that something's gonna change, it might have already changed. But
Yes.
but thank you. She again, Suveda is joining me live from Canada. My friends, did you get from Canada, from India, from Bangalore, India,
Hmm.
south of India, and a wonderful, wonderful Christian lady. Her father, family of Christians, grew up in church, been involved for all of her life, and her heart and testimony is incredible. Her faith is unshaken, unmovable, and you will hear her talk about that for herself. Don't just take it from me. And the reason why I can tell you, because we have spoken to her before, and know what her testimony has been. You have worked with UNICEF. We're not going to talk about that. You have worked with UNICEF. You work with NGO. You work with Nerd. I mean, you're ING. I mean, sales training manager. But I want to ask you something about the work with the Rotary Foundation for over 3 years. Was a charter president for Baldwin Women's Methodist College. Tell us about that.
Okay, yeah. I think giving back to the community is something that everyone should have it in them, and it's because we're all humans, and we all love to be loved, and we are made to love each other. We are not created to create pain. So I think giving back to the society in your own ways is something that was there in the past. Back those days, we didn't have Instagram accounts, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have all the other like Twitter, Medium, or anything like TikTok, YouTube. It was very, very relatively low. So the exposure of your activities was relatively lesser. So people who did work back then did work which was very
Your audio went
genuine.
down a little bit than where it was. Your audio went down, but I'm not sure. But
Oh, okay,
okay,
okay. I mean, what I'm trying to say is people in the past, they when they went into community service, they would do it with a genuine interest. And I'm not saying that people don't do it now, but I think community interest nowadays is more of a personal interest, probably even to just get some Instagram likes, or you just do it for the sake of it, and or you just want to make sure that yes, you just donated something. Because I believe if you're working for the society, it has to be a very consistent process, and you don't talk much of it. That's what we learned. So when I was in the Rotary Club, we were focused mainly on polio eradication in India, and now we have eradicated polio completely out of India, and Rotary played a very, very, very huge role. So, as a college going girl back then, we would motivate all our youth, some of our classmates, some of my juniors, and then we would go door to door to give polio drops to most of the children.
Hmm.
So that was again volunteering. Back those days, volunteering was not a very common thing among girls because you have to come off your college hours like a Saturday or Sunday and then do something. But the
Hmm.
satisfaction you get, I think, is something that is beyond explanation if you really feel it when you actually work for the society, the community. During that Rotary Foundation, when I was working there, we gave free medical camps, free dental camps, free eye checkups for people, and especially for people who are in unreachable areas. But now, of course, after India got very digitalized, like how our prime minister likes to say. We got very digitalized with even with money or even with the mobile, and not many people had smart mobiles. But I think even the lower income class now in the country have a smart mobile, and most of them are into all kind of social media platforms. Now it's easier to communicate, or you can actually access yourself to a doctor, or you can access yourself to some kind of medical care. But I'm talking about like 2005, 6, all of those times, people were still unreachable, and you had to go to them. Medical care had to reach them, and they
Hmm.
weren't that well versed. And yeah, but now with the time, and we're moving very fast, and I would say people are still getting their kind of medical facilities since then. But my experience in Rotary was a culmination of all of this. I mean, it's like an entire shift in time. So we did have personal interactions with dental patients, and we got people eye checked, and we also got them spectacles for free. We had blood donation camps where we would collect blood and we would give it to Rotary GTK, and we were there for accident relief. We would adopt a couple of schools, or probably a small town where people are under slum dwellings. So we'd make sure some child is even educated. So you get to see the problems in a society when you actually come together as one. Then you can actually, bring out the differences and iron it.
That is Suveda. She's only in her thirties. She's only in her thirties, and boy, what she has accomplished already in life, and her involvement in her community, in her town, in her country, in her church is just incredible, incredible, incredible. I'm not going to, because what a couple of her hobbies, just for hobbies. She love reading books, have a passion to write articles and short stories. She like painting, sketching, flower arrangement. She likes interior designing, and she likes, she likes, and I like this piece of it. It said interior designing. Maybe I take a minute on something from that. And you say interior designing is another aspect that keeps me happy and turns a blue day into a great one.
Yeah.
Tell us what that really means to you in terms of, how do you approach that, assess that, turn that around? What how does that happen?
Most of the people, my understanding is when somebody wants to get a makeover, either to themselves or to their houses, or probably to their cars, or whatever you like. Because it's all about where you eat, where you sleep, what you drive. That's what keeps us happy, because we're so happy within our own small cocoon, and we'd want to keep that going. So for me, it's like recycling, using the same space that you have and trying to make it and elevate it better, so that you can find something new, probably getting new drapes, and probably trying to do up a wall, probably doing it up yourself, maybe painting it differently, or trying to get some element. It's not like, when I mean interior designing, is not like blowing up all the money you have on that particular wall, or that on that room and trying to get somebody to design it. Probably it's just, you can just work it up to understand what you want to do. Like if you want to extend the space, or you just want to have a new counter there, how do you even make that space come alive? It could be just paint that particular wall by yourself, or get a new carpet, or get a new shelf. and rearrange your books in a different way to just make that space look a little different.
So
So
create newness every now and then.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that
Change
way it
the
won't be
change the
monotonous.
atmosphere. Change the atmosphere a little bit. All right, I get it. All right. So that was, my friend, that was only a glimpse of what I could read from Suveda's bio and the thing that she has done. We haven't even tapped into a quarter of it. She's just an incredible young lady. All right. So now we want to hear your story, because as I said, since I spoke to you, I think that was your husband passed away in May, right?
Yeah, May 2nd.
May 2nd, and he was buried on what, the 25th, somewhere there about?
No, no, no. He was buried on the 3rd,
On the
very next day.
yeah, India story different.
Yeah, yeah.
This story is different in that. Yeah, my bad on that. And when he passed, you weren't well because you both got sick together.
Mm-hmm.
When I spoke to you, your husband had passed, and you appeared to were getting better. Appeared that you were getting better. But
Hmm.
then when I didn't hear from you for a while, and I tried to make
Yeah.
contact with you, and I couldn't hear from you. I got a little bit concerned. And by the way, my friends, this she called me uncle. Okay, she called me uncle. That's the relationship that we've had for about 12 years now. She calls me uncle, and we keep in touch from 2008, 2009. And I've been to India twice and met her and her parents, and we have been connected since then. And even after I've gone there for so many years, thank God that we had phone number connection and was able to make connection.
Hmm.
But after I spoke to you, I knew you were sick. I know your father wasn't well. Your mother had recently passed. Your husband had passed, and you weren't well. And I wasn't hearing from you. I was worried about you. And then when I finally heard from you, you told me that you went downhill again, and you
Yeah.
had to be back in and out of the hospital, back and forth, just trying to survive. Tell us, tell us about what your story has been since we spoke on the first let's talk with the doc. What it has been like you. What has been your journey?
Hmm. Um, from the time that I last spoke to you, Uncle, it was, I think I was still in the grieving phase when I had the conversation with you when we went live and we spoke about my true feelings of, how it feels to lose a better half, and how the situation of India was. We were still under lockdown when I had a call with you. And a lot of things were still, I thought I was getting stable. In fact, most of us thought, because the idea is you just get over COVID and you get a negative certificate and you can actually be ready, you can sprint up and get to life and start working. But it didn't, for me, things didn't go that easy.
Mhm.
And I took probably more than 25, 30 days to recover in COVID, because my blood kept thickening most of the time. So I had to take blood thinner injections for more than 15 days, morning and night, because it was consistently thickening, and the chances of you getting a stroke was very high, because that's what blood thickening does. And by the time you assess, you analyze, and you don't have so many hospitals open all the time, because the country was under lockdown for probably more than a month, and you just have to identify yourself a clinic or a nurse, or maybe sometimes just get yourself injected yourself, because of the lack of medical staff, and sometimes the medicines are not available. And while this is happening, my face suddenly kind of started to swell up. It's swollen up a lot more than what it was. Then I couldn't actually look at light directly, because my head would hurt, my eyes would hurt. And by then, I was also doing a bit of reading simultaneously about the fungus development in the world. Like, people who have COVID have relapsed into black fungus and white fungus, and they had different kind of fungus issues. So when you think of fungus, you think probably it's just a very a very simple situation, or you can just come out of it with some antifungal medicines. That's the normal for anyone. But
So
when black fungus,
before you go further on that, where was where the fungus developed as a result of that?
black fungus is always, it's on your sinus area. It's around your nose.
Okay.
and your nasal cavity and your, it's like your ENT is disturbed, basically your entire,
Hmm.
that's when you cannot see, like, any kind of extreme light starts hurting, and your entire, this entire region, it kind of pulls you hard. You have terrible headaches. It's like migraine headache. If you have to magnify it into 10 times, that's how it hurts.
Wow.
And you can't, yeah, and it's very bad. But if black fungus actually spreads, and if it spreads very fast, they might have to probably cut you open and try to scrape it off, because the fatality of black fungus is more certain than COVID, because it spreads into your brain, and a person dies between 5 to 10 days, and
Really,
that's the time. Yeah.
I am not in the medical field, so to speak, and some things are more prevalent in different areas.
Hmm.
I don't recall, and it might be only my lack of my own ignorance or lack of uh,
No.
education in that field, but I don't recall hearing of that one, and having people dying so quickly. Got to open up their sinuses to treat that. I have never I don't remember hearing about that one.
Oh, Bangalore and India had quite a few cases, and it was prevalent because um, it's very. I mean, there are a lot of factors that go through it. If you use a lot of industrial oxygen, and if your steroid intake is very high, I was on steroids for more than 35 days. So
Wow,
to save my lung, because my lung was almost collapsing most of the time,
wow,
and because we had the Delta variant,
right.
and because of that, you don't have a hospital, so you need to consider your house as your hospital and try to get yourself equipped with whatever you can at that unprecedented time. So I made sure that we had industrial oxygen. That was the only oxygen that kind of kept me alive most of the time.
Hmm.
And what happens during your black fungus is it enters your system when your steroids are very, very, very high, your immunity is very low, and you have industrial oxygen that you're intaking. I'm not talking about oxygenated or medical oxygen. We're
So
talking.
is that accumulative from the steroids? It's
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
It forms that way, and it actually, the catalyst is moistness, dampness, and a lot of dust. And India was in its monsoon times. July, June, July was
Mhm.
extensive monsoon. And I think probably once when I had a call with you over the phone, also it was raining in India. So
Mhm.
we had rains all through April. So um, to add to all this, the moistness, the dampness, and of course, we dust is something not anyone can take it away, because that's always like an omnipresent factor in all our lives. So that actually adds as a prevalent catalyst. And once you have all these factors, that's your perfect recipe for black fungus. Yeah, and a lot of people passed away, and to get the right antifungal dose, those vials were being sold at exorbitant prices, very, very high prices. Let's say if it was for $60, it was being sold for probably $60,000. That's the kind of differences in price, because that's how the people who are manufacturing it also, and I wouldn't say manufacturers, but maybe the middlemen are the
Mhm.
ones who wanted to make the best out of that time, which is actually very inhuman and very sad, because you're actually trading with human lives,
Mhm.
and at some
Mhm.
point of time, you would also be involved somewhere. So I think
Right.
humanity stands highest then at this kind of time, than you trying to make a quick buck during someone's misery. That's something which is not right. And but we cannot. Who are we to decide for somebody else, right? You can talk for yourself. You can just be what you think is right, but most of my country suffered with lack of medicines, because either they were stored, or they were hoarded, or it was wrongful means. But yeah, somehow God's grace, we managed to get the vials, the kind of medications that had to go into me, and I was also hospitalized for about a week to get that medications, and luckily they didn't have to cut open my nasal cavity, because they but it did give me a lot of effect, because you're just out of so much of medicines, and you have to pump your body with a new set of medicines. And for your when your immunity is low, and when your mentally very low, any kind of medicine doesn't actually work wonders at all for you, because
Mm.
if your
Wow.
mind is perfect, you can be healthier, because a healthy mind creates a healthy body. So
And
that's
maybe
that's
maybe
very
maybe maybe that's what kept you alive, because you have a healthy mind. Not only you have a healthy mind, but you have a, a a hopeful mind. You have a connected mind. And I come to that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just from
Mhm.
our conversation and your relationship with God and your trust and your faith and your confidence and your acceptance of what might be God's will is amazing. And I hope that we'll get there in your own thinking, in your
Yeah.
own saying. But before we get there, to for others to be inspired and to be touched by your level of faith, like Jesus told the who was it, the Syrophoenician woman, he has never. Jesus told the Syrophoenician woman that he has never seen such great faith, no, not in Israel. We'll get there, but tell me a little bit more about the swelling of your face, the black, call it black
Fungus, yeah,
fungus,
black fungus,
black
yeah.
fungus, and the self medication at home,
Hmm.
accessing the medication and applying the medication, treating yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
I think it was a culmination of not just me. Of course, it's my family, my dad, my brother, and the people who knew that I had already lost my husband. They were trying to get hell and heaven together to make sure that I'm alive. And
Mm,
even if we try to put humanly whatever kind of efforts, whatever, you can probably move mountains, you can try to do everything. But if you don't have the grace of God in your life, I don't think that can get anywhere. So I would 100% attribute it only to the Lord, because He wanted me to be alive. His grace was on me, and He gave me a new life several times. And that's why I'm very grateful, because, in the time and age that India was suffering with so much, and I was very close to the brink of extinction, he held my hand and he was there throughout. So I don't even I mean, I can't even start to begin to tell you how blessed I am, because he's the one who got me there. I mean, whether we are trying to see, we can plan a million things in our head. We can say, okay, probably we need to get this medicine, we need to get that medicine out, and all this works, and we can just write, we can have a proper roadmap. But if that is not backed by the grace of God, and if He doesn't let that, or He doesn't allow that plan to work, it will be a failure. But if He's in it with you, even if everything looks very difficult, it would all become very easy. And it would just be like more than the speed at which it works is at a different level. You might just think, but He'll get it executed if it's His will. So I think surrendering to His will is probably one of the uh, prime things that I have reinstated myself. I believed in it, but then, that belief became all the more stronger and backed with a lot of evidence, because, surrendering to His will and just accepting what He's allowing in your life, He is allowing it for a cause. And, and if you question that, I mean, you're questioning God. So you just have to allow it, because you don't have a choice. I mean, you either have to question Him, His greatness, His knowledge, His love for you, or you can just say, okay, Lord, I just surrender, and I mean, it's all Your will. Just show me a path, and this is what, or this is where I have to go. I mean, what else can we do? You can go against Him, and how long? How long can you run away from Him? You won't find that peace. You won't find that satisfaction or solace. You can try everything. Trust me, you can try everything. You can go far and wide. You can try all the possible options. But I think the peace that comes from knowing Him and the peace that He gives you, I think, is something which is not matchable by anyone or anything in this world. So, I mean, that's how you can move through things.
I am never tired. I am never tired of just hearing you talk about your own personal faith. And And yeah, and not trying to rehash or trying to stir up or to break back the wound, but tell us
Mhm.
how, and I just listen you kind of say it in a nutshell, but step by step, tell us how Suveda processed her experience of the loss of her mother. Not to go through the whole detail, but just for
Mm.
your own personal journey as an individual, not
Yeah.
the whole story of the, but the process of as an individual, in the close proximity of losing your mom, and the brevity of losing your husband to COVID, and your own illness,
Mm. Mm.
and the long time it took you to recover to where you are now. All those things are factoring in, one behind the other. And
Yeah.
here is a young lady, mother is gone, husband is gone. How long were you married for again?
We were married for 5.5 years, around
Five
six
and a half
maybe.
years. And you were just now planning your real life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You were planning your life now to extend on your family.
Yes. Yes.
And there goes your husband.
Yes.
So your mom is gone, your husband is gone, your dad is sick, you are sick, the hospitals are full, the medication is rationed, and God is there, and you know God is there, and you're processing all of those and holding on to God. How what's Suveda's journey? What's
Mm.
Suveda's journey has been like? A good day, a bad day, uh, an uncertain day. What has it been like?
Hmm. I mean, it's been, I would say, controlled chaos. I mean, if we have to, uh,
Control the chaos.
sum,
Okay.
yeah, if you have to sum it up into just two words, chaos is there, of course. I don't deny it. I mean, I think I haven't experienced this kind of chaos, or I have not known many people who have experienced this kind of chaos and still have grace under pressure and still try to be,
Grace under pressure. There are some good
yeah,
statements you're making there.
okay.
Control chaos, grace under pressure, man. That's
No, I mean
ah,
that's the best that I can probably uh, put myself or probably see myself where I was, because I have been thinking about this. It's not like whenever I think of my journey behind, and when I think where am I, because I think as a young girl, I mean, I might have to go a little behind, but as a young girl, when I was raised by my parents, I was grown in a very good environment, a good Christian background, and you have everything provided for you because you're studying. You have your mom and dad who takes care of everything. You're happy. You're studying. You're actually in your best of days, not like the really sad, or you didn't have an event to feel bad.
mhm.
Probably for the time till I was married. I think till 2018, we didn't have any qualms. We were happy with what we had, and everything looked very perfect. I think from 18 end, I lost my mom's sister first. So that was my first experience of death.
So you lost your.
She had my mother's youngest sister. She passed
Mhm.
away literally in my arms. She had
Oh,
cervical cancer and she was in her last stages. Yeah. And so that was my first experience of what death is. I mean, to see it firsthand, see, you can talk about somebody dying. We can talk it as a news. We can talk it as a bereavement. We can talk emotions. But
mhm.
when you are a part of death and when you feel it, no, it impacts you. It impacts you a lot at a very different level. And if it's your loved one, it hurts because she was a nurse herself, my mom's sister.
Mhm.
And her sudden untiming, she was only 45 and she was
Oh,
very young. So
I'm
she
so
passed
sorry.
away in 18. And 19, on Good Friday, I lost my mom's mom. So my mother's mother, she was my grandmother. So she was a very special. I think everyone loves their grandparents, and grandparents hold a very, very special place for every person,
Mhm.
because you have a lot that you learn from that generation than your parents. And I think grandparents are very biased with grandchildren also because they
That's
get
true. That
double
is
love.
true.
Yeah,
That is true.
yeah. So,
That is
so
true.
my yeah, yeah, and
What
they
we call
spoil
that?
you.
What we call that? The term I'm trying to use. Hmm, oh, I'm trying to find the term I want to use, but unconditional love.
Yes, yes,
Unconditional
yes.
love and unconditional care.
Yeah, and I think they're a lot biased also with
Yeah.
all that you do. So my
Yeah.
grandmother was very special to us, and she passed away on Good Friday, and
Mm.
in April in 2019.
Oh.
And a couple of months later, my mother passed away. She
Oh.
passed away
Wow.
in September.
Wow.
So September was, I think, it took me maybe more than 6 months to even accept the fact that my mom is not there. Like in my first conversation, I told you that I had a vision, and then I realized that, my mom is in a much better place. And then I started to grieve a little lesser, and I learned to accept it. And the same year, 2019, we lost my father's father, my grandfather. He was 92. So, I mean, you have consistent deaths. I mean, it's not like, you just have I
Mm-hmm.
know everyone has to die. I
Mm-hmm.
completely understand that theory. But when it's happening way too fast for anyone, for that matter, it becomes very difficult to take it into your system that you're seeing so many deaths, and we are not designed for that kind of pain at all. And
Mm-hmm.
this was just 2019, and 2020 is when we had this COVID. We lost a couple of our church members. We lost my mom's brother's wife. She's very close to us. So
Mm-hmm.
we lost a lot of women, like the motherly figures in family.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost like four ladies in the house. So my aunt, my grandmother, my mother, and my other aunt. So in a span of 2 years, we're talking about. So what do you understand? You're certain that this would this would be very difficult for us to even get where we are getting, to be honest. And even before I can come to terms with all of this, I lost my husband in 2021. So that was probably the biggest blow. But when I lost all of them in 18 and 19, my greatest support was my husband, because I
Right.
think that's the best relationship, and of course it's ordained by God. And he always says, you leaving and cleaving is probably one of the most holiest, and I think it's the most sought after relationship. And it's something that is created by God in its own wonderful ways. So he was my strength throughout. And his passing was something which actually is something that I cannot take, because he always used to attribute me as a very strong woman. He says I draw strength from you, and I think ultimately every husband and wife, a couple who are genuinely in love and who respect each other, they actually draw lots of strengths from each other. It's not like one is better than the other, but it's
Mm-hmm.
more of complement and not competition in a couple. So I think both of us drew strength from each other, and we were each other's support throughout. And his loss was probably the most toughest for me. So to see so much of death, so much of devastation, so much of pain was on one level. And when that actually adds infliction, I mean, with all this pain, if you have inflicted pain, that is your bodily pain, and you don't have time to grieve, you can't quite cry, you don't have time to um, actually let your tears down, because you're already sick. You're not allowed to cry. You're Because you'll hyperventilate, and you're having saturation issues, and you'll be taking carbon monoxide or dioxide or whatever terms that the doctors say. So I was restricted from crying. I was restricted from being emotional for my husband for more than a month, because it would affect my health, and things would make it even worse. So
So
at some point,
what was the process of that? Just by counsel, just by instruction, or just by personal assessment? What was, how do you control
oh,
that emotion? How do you control that just for your own health purposes? What's the method or the mechanism that you have in place to do that?
trust me, I mean, it's probably something that's like it's tried and tested. I didn't control. I mean, let me be very honest. I failed miserably, because I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
And but the effects of failure was very high, because when you cry, and when you cry with a lot of emotions, and your breathing format changes, because your saturation is already on the low part.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
And when you talk hyperventilation, women do that. They take very short breathing, how do I say, sequences where you you don't take your oxygen completely, but you're breathing in
Hmm.
short distances, and then you get a little choked sometimes. It has happened to me. So then they had to get back oxygen. So then, there was a lot of yelling and screaming. My brother and my dad, they would be all worried because I'm not able to control, because it's very difficult to control your emotions at that time, because you just want to let loose. You don't
Hmm.
know what is happening. But
Wow.
the effects of crying and the effects that it's adding onto your body, then to neutralize me and to make sure that I'm normalized, it takes another hour and so much of medical care. And then when you actually go through the process and you see the kind of tension that is there on everyone's face, like you're only two people, that's your brother and your father, and they are hoping that you don't die. And when you're actually putting them through so much of pain, you tend to you just tend to say, okay, I don't think it's really worth so much, because you're physically affected, you're mentally affected, and the people around you are so affected. It's probably one of the worst phases. I wouldn't wish anyone should go through it, because after losing your husband, you can't even hug your father, you can't hug your brother, you can't cry, because you're sure you're going to contract COVID to anybody. The first thing you do is you just get into the room and you just close yourself.
Wow.
And yeah, that's probably the worst any human can go through. I mean,
And
it's the
that,
most.
and that is the worst way to grieve.
Yes, yes,
That's the
yes.
worst way to
Trust me.
grieve, by being
Trust
locked
me.
away, isolated, and carrying yourself by yourself.
Hmm.
But I'm listening. I'm listening as you say that, um, uh, uh, grieving fully
Hmm.
was almost by itself a death warrant
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
you, if you would have done that, to the extent that your emotions
Hmm.
want to do it. If you did that, you would become another statistics. So
Yeah.
that must be double pressure.
Yes.
I want to let it out. I want to let it out, but my God, if I let it out, I'd be gone.
Yes, because I've experienced it. I mean, I did let it out because, see, emotions is something that I think not everyone, I mean, I'm sure not even you, not even anyone can control, because they're emotions. I mean, if you control them, then you're pretending, or you're acting, or you're trying to do something in a very thoughtful process.
Mhm,
Emotions come out as a it's a very spontaneous stimulus that happens in your body,
mhm. That is
and you
true.
don't have any, yeah, you don't have any control over it. So you cry because you really want to grieve, but the after effects of it
Mm.
actually made me very numb. And my family doctor would come and visit me. He's a wonderful man. He came in PPE kits, and he just told me one thing. He said, if you want to keep your father and your brother alive, you need to stay alive. We are trying our best to keep you alive. There are
Wow.
many people out there who don't have medications and who don't have what they have, and they are dying. But here you have so many people who are trying their best to keep you alive, and the least you can do is not cry.
Wow. Wow.
So, and the least you can, I mean, that is the least that I wanted, but that is the least that I have to compromise. And to be
Mhm.
in that spot, it's not actually easy, because
Whew.
for a woman, I'm not trying to say men don't have emotions, but I'm saying women are relatively more emotional, and you just, but also you need that space. A woman cries more often because that's the way she expresses, and that's how she's made
Mm.
genetically. So I mean, it's not like men don't, but I'm not getting the gender thing here, but I'm just
Understandable.
saying,
Understandable.
yeah,
Understandable.
but they are much more stronger when it comes to holding back their emotions, and they have a stronger persona. But women are strong from within. I'm talking about mentally, and if they ever decide that they have to do it, I think women make great mothers. I've seen more of single mothers than single fathers across the world. So they raise children, and they are formidable forces that we cannot. So at that time, I think I screamed, and I vented it out only to the Lord. I just closed the door and I said, Lord, like everyone has that, that God moment. You just say, like Jonah, he tried to go hide himself. He thought that he can hide, but where can you hide from God? So
Mhm.
I mean, that was the thought that came to my mind. I said, God, there's nothing that is hidden from you, and what can I do? So I mean, if you want to get me, all right, I mean, it's all in your hand, because I don't want to have this half-hearted health where you're like, you're suffering, you're going through so much, you're putting all your family members going through so much, there's a lot of dearth of medications, and there's so many, your emotions are running very high. Everyone is going through so much of suffering and stress. I said, what do you want me to do? And I just said, God, just give me peace. And the only peace that came to me and the only peace that I got is only from God. Because I would consistently pray. What I would pray, I said, I don't know what I have to pray, but I just know I have to pray to you and I have to look up to you. So there are two ways you can become this angry child. You can start venting it out. You can start getting angry. You can get vocal. You can get verbal. You can abuse your life. You can abuse people. You can say a lot of things. But then after you've said, you can't take what you've said back. And it's not gonna be of any use, right? I mean, you're just gonna display your personality, which you might not want to see again when you come back to your senses. So I said, okay, if this is what the Lord wants me to go through, so be it. Because who am I? I mean, a person like Job went through so much. I mean, I just started to think of him. I was like, imagine the pain that he went through, and he never said a word. He went through so much, and in such short span. So when I was going through the kind of pain, I'm not trying to compare myself with Job, of course, but I'm just saying the sequence of events that happen can actually disturb anyone, can actually shake the foundations of your faith. A lot of my people said, how much can you pray? Why are you praying so much? What's the use of praying so much? I mean, where are you headed? I
Mhm.
said, I know I'm headed the right way, because if prayer has got me so far, if I was able to achieve so much or reach this stage of my life, it's only because of God. And if God's allowing this to happen in my life, I think He has something better for me, or probably He's just having a random testing. Because when we think of Job, why would even Job have to be put through that kind of test? But he did win his test, and he was blessed double. He was blessed tenfold after he passed his test. So, I mean, we are just somebody who is created by God in His image, for His likeness, for His greatness. So, if you don't realize that soon, we would be stuck in our own mental trauma. We would have to visit a number of psychiatrists, and nothing can help you except God, because you just keep going into that loop over and over again. He created you for His greatness. Just submit yourself to His greatness, because that's the easiest way out. There's no other way that you can win this battle. Definitely, it's not easy. Not even a single day has been easy for me. But every day has become very easy because He was with me. And if you believe He is with you, you don't believe, it's a different thing. But if you believe, the power that you get and the solace that you get gives you the hope to move to the next day. You don't know what is in store, but you know for sure that the man and the Father and the Lord that you are trusting knows what is happening. So just submit yourself. That's it. That's what I believe.
You are an incredible, incredible, incredible young lady. Um, uh, uh, Tell me, and we're gonna come to where you are now, but
Yeah.
tell me, in Suveda's assessment, and my
Hmm.
friends, I'm talking to Suveda Priya Emmanuel live from Bangalore, India. And I know it's an off night. I know it's a Friday night. Nobody expect let's talk with the doc on a Friday night because Wednesday is
Hmm.
my schedule time. So most of my friends are not aware, but you can still share. You can still share this, and even after we can still share. But tell me, in your assessment, in the process of the loss that you have, the many loss of your family members, your husband, and your own illness. Your father is ill, hasn't even gotten back to his original health yet, so he's restricted by the effect of COVID. Tell me, what is a good day for Saveda, and what is a really bad day for Saveda?
Okay.
How would you say
Uh,
a good day, or a bad day for Sveda? Hey, God bless you, my friend Everald Box, man. I'm seeing man like that for God knows how long. Good to have you, my friend. Tell me if you can put on a little package, take it
mhm.
one at a time. Tell
Yeah.
me what Saveda considers to be a good day in all of this, and what she could considers to be a really bad day.
Yes. Can you just give me a minute? I just want to connect my phone for a bit before I answer that.
Sure.
I mean, I just want to get the power cord before my phone battery dies.
Okay. All right.
Just a moment.
All right. Take the moment. Take the moment, my friends. Hang in there. Hang in there. She'll come right back. In the meanwhile, let me tell you something about. Well, my friends, if you haven't yet gotten a copy of my book, The Seven Churches of Asia Minor or The Church in Revelation, it's time you get a copy now. You would learn something from it, I am sure. It's good for Bible study, good for a book club, or just for personal reading if you just want to know. An inquisitive mind wants to know. Available on Amazon, Barnes& Noble, all the major bookstores. Or go to obeckford.com and you can get an autograph copy from me or email me orbministries@gmail.com and we could set it up. You could get yourself a copy right now. Friends, Suveda is back. She's back. Are you okay now? Are you okay?
Yeah, yeah, yes,
All
yes,
right.
absolutely.
All right. So the time that we have left, I'm talking to Suveda live from Bangalore, India. A young lady that I've met her parents, her father, brother, their family in ministry 2008, 2009 when I went to England, India, and a couple of those visits there. And from then we have connected, and here we are today, many years after hearing her story. So the question that I ask, with all that you have been through, and I'm going to give you, as you made mention of Job, I wanted to make mention of him too because he's a great example that God has given us in His Word that we can look back at him and I look at some of these patriarchs and matriarchs stories, and the Scripture tells us that everything is written for our learning.
Yes.
So God allows them to go through things so that when our time comes, we have examples to look back at. And the Bible said in all of this, Job did not blame God wrongfully, and he still worshipped in all of that. Um, Processing this as a young lady who has lost her husband in a young age, haven't been able to extend or expand on your family, which was what you were in the process of coming to the
Yes.
decision to say, yes, it's time for us to expand. A young lady now, mother's gone, almost the circle has been depleted to a certain extent, your inner circle. And in your
That's
own
right.
illness for 40 plus days, you lose your job, right? You lost your job in the process because you so
Yes.
long couldn't go to your work, to your job. What is a good day for Suveda, and what is a
Hmm.
bad day in your intelligent Christian, faithful, dedicated, trusting God, believing in God, not blaming God? What is a good day for Suveda, and what is a bad day in your assessment?
Hmm. You are very kind with words, Uncle. That's all I can say with describing me. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I can't say the same about being intelligent and all that. I'm just being, uh, yeah, what you're saying.
You don't
But
have to say that. You don't have to say what I say. What I say is true. So you don't have to. You don't have to. You
oh,
don't have to
okay,
follow me. But
sure. That's kind of you. Well, if I have to go back, like you said, you lost your job and you lost your most of the things in the year this year. So if I have to just go back a bit, there was one point which I don't know if I had shared it with you, but my husband, before he could get COVID and I could get COVID, I had a miscarriage. So we lost a baby as well.
I'm
So we
sorry.
lost a baby, yeah, in April 19th. That's when things started to cascade. Like, I
Oh,
was at the peak of my job career. He was at his peak of his job career. And to have a peak in the time when the world is going through a recession is, of course, grace of God. And we had a very good project that was running, and his projects were going really well, and we were working very, very well. And the good thing is we didn't know we were pregnant because you're so caught up with your work. Normally, that's a tendency that humans generally get into. I think all of us get into. When we get busy, we kind of forget the nuances of life and we forget those
hmm
small
hmm
elements. And so I wasn't aware. And when it happened, we had about a week's time to go and assess myself with a doctor, and we were very happy. We were supposed to announce it on May Day, Labor Day. That's May 1st. We were supposed to announce that I'm actually pregnant. He wanted to put it on Facebook, and I think he has a crazy habit of being on Facebook, and most of the pictures are posted by him all the time. So that was the intent. But on April 20th, April 19th is when I lost the child. We had a miscarriage. And
hmm
on 23rd, my dad had a stroke. And on 24th, we both had fever. And 25th, we went for the testing. 27th of April, we got the results because it was 2 days, 48 hours, and to get the result. On 27th, we were positive, COVID positive. And I think on 30th, he was admitted in the hospital of April. And on the 2nd, he passed away. So for me to process this entire week, it was beyond comprehension because
Wow.
first you lose the child and then you lose the father of the child, and you know for sure that there is no hope in any way that you would. Where do we get? So that's why I passed out, and immediately 30 days later I had black fungus. Then after I recovered from it, I had long COVID symptoms. I'm sure all of you all have gone through long COVID.
Pause there for a minute. Pause. I don't want to break you, but I want to reflect back on what you just said. You said
Yeah.
all of those things happen in the 5 days or whatever process, and
Mhm.
you said that's why you passed out,
Hmm.
right? That's why you
Correct.
passed out. Tell us a little bit more about that pass out moment. Tell us a little bit about, because that's when your husband died, when you really grasp it that he died. That's when before you even get the news, the
Hmm.
real final report. That's when you were no more conscious.
Yes, 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 that's true. Because, see, when you lose your child, when I lost the child, we both were there. He was with me. So we did feel bad. I mean, I think every couple who have gone through a miscarriage
Mm,
knows the pain. I'm not talking only on a perspective of a lady, but I'm talking even as a couple because it means
right.
a lot for many people. And for us, it was something which was very difficult to accept. But I at least had him back then
hmm
to support me, and he said, yeah, we can get through this, and it was not something that can't be achieved again. Yes, we can.
Right.
But I reached a stage when they said that he's no more. I couldn't accept. I Because we they just told me he's losing his saturation. We're going to shift him to a ventilator bed.
hmm
And the space or the time between saying we're going to shift him and the time they came back and gave me the news that he's no more was probably 10 minutes. That's it, 10 or 15 minutes. And I just didn't know what was happening. They said that he's no more and he couldn't survive a cardiac arrest. And sorry, he's no more. It's easier said than done. For a person, it's a news. For some people, it's their life, So I'm not saying that people should get sensitive in answering or specifying how to break a news of death, but I'm saying everyone has their way of grieving. Everyone has their threshold that they can hold on to. I I learned what my threshold was during this entire period. That's what I learned because the above losses that I had mentioned of my family was somewhere bearable. Life became a little more, though it was horrible and tough. I had a partner who would support me, and that's what life is all about. But when
Wow.
you are snatched away of that same partner that you're actually banking on,
hmm
that's absolute. you're deserted. That's emptiness, and that's when you actually break down, and that's your threshold, and that's when I passed out. So when I woke up, and when I realized, okay, he's not going to be there for even the chat, you can't voice your opinion. I think the first 20-30 days were probably um, the worst of my days, because we would converse a lot. I think every couple they go through that. So it was the worst for me.
Wow. That's okay. That's okay. If you want to reprocess it, that's okay.
Sorry.
It helps sometimes just to vent it. That's okay. Um,
Sorry.
so you said the cascading effect of that is that okay, this moment. So it's like okay, you there was a pylon on things. So in fast processing, you're processing. You lost your child. You lost your mom. You lost that. You lost this. You lost that, and now your hope of getting a child again.
Mhm.
What you're hearing now? That hope has also just died
Yeah, yeah.
with your husband. So wow,
That was the. I mean, it's not at all the right analogy, but they say it's a cherry on the cake.
a
So I mean,
cherry on
that
the
was the
cake.
topping. Yeah, it was. It
Well,
was like,
well, maybe let me give an analogy. They said that the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe that would be a
yeah,
maybe yeah.
it's almost like that. But I mean, I
Oh
didn't know
my
how to
God.
process it. How do you? And I mean, even the most strongest person, even the most logical person, even the most faithful person will lose faith at that point. You'll be like, my first reaction when I was awake, and we didn't even get to see him for less than 5 minutes, because you're not allowed to even go anywhere close to the body. They normally dispose it, they either burn it. In India, it's burning. So we had to make special requests to get the body and get it buried. If we don't do that, I mean, India doesn't allow that much. So
Mm.
you need to get a lot of authorities. That's a different level. So I didn't go through it. Luckily, my father did and my brother did. So to even see him for that brief 5 minutes, it's like they just bring him, they show you in the coffin, and the coffin goes in. That's it. So you don't have an elaborate burial
So
process.
even that is added pain.
Yeah,
Added pain.
yeah.
Uh, can't make no connection. It's just like the brevity of that is just like oops. Welcome
Hmm.
to my friend Pastor Grant joining me. Good to see you, Pastor. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in on this broadcast. I'm talking to my friend, my niece from Bangalore, India, and her story is just one incredible one. Go on with your story. Your story is beyond what I could even. I don't even
Hmm.
know how you handle it, but there is something that God has that is called grace,
Yeah, that's it.
and he knows, and the Bible said that he won't give you more than you can bear. Let me just say this to you.
Hmm.
God's got high marks on you.
Yeah,
That's all I can say. He
yeah.
has high marks on you. He thinks incredible of you. He scores you very high. Because
Yeah,
if he thinks in his wisdom and foreknowledge and understanding, omniscience, if he know and he knew, and I'm not saying if, because if is not what we can do to assess God, because we know God knows. But the
yeah,
fact, let me use this, get away the if, but the fact that God knew that you'd be able to manage and handle this means he has high marks on you.
yeah.
Process
I
that. Process that. And then come back. I'm not sure if you told me the bad day or the best day yet. So let's see which one did you tell me? The worst day or what? Which one is the worst day? On that day when you pass or
yeah,
when you felt like your world collapsed,
yes, yes. That's the
right?
worst day.
Your world collapsed in that moment and you pass out as a process and in the process. Okay, beyond that, by the
Hmm.
experience, how on a day when you say this is a good day for me now, what that looks like.
Okay. Mm-mm. I mean, going by this entire year, I don't know, just probably able to smile is a good day for me. And when you genuinely smile, because if you've been through so much and you actually get a chance to smile and you genuinely are smiling, Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
smiling now when I'm talking to you. That itself is a good day, because I think when tragedy occurs, and when it occurs so often, and when you just don't know what to do, and uh, certain situations can be in your control, but when all the situations are out of your control and you have no role to play, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you do is going to change the reality, all you can do is just let things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when you let things happen, you actually come to a point where you're like, okay, God, this is it. I mean, it's all up to you. So you, what do you want to do, what you want to make of me, or what you want is all yours. So
Mm-hmm.
when you do that, that's the only peace that you can actually live with, because you have to make peace with yourself first. Then can you probably even look at life differently, because if you're not peaceful internally, you would find the whole world to be a horrible place to live with,
Mm.
because
Mm.
you would
Wow.
and no kind of advice would ever help you, no kind
Wow.
of prayers would help you, because there'll be a lot of people praying for you, that's for sure. But if you basically don't believe in prayer, and you have an aversion towards it, it wouldn't even affect you.
Mm.
And so I think coming to terms with your loss and accepting that this is the truth was probably the best day I realized that. And I have to accept it, because I don't have a choice. I mean, I can deny it. I can deny that, God has been very unjustful. He's done this. He's been very mean to me. But yeah, but he's kept me alive. He's allowing all of this, and he's with me. So it's like you said, he gives you what you can bear, and maybe he's just trying to show me that your tolerance level, he's upping the mark all the time. So I
Wow.
just keep saying, yeah, maybe it could be that.
Whew. Um, one statement that I keep making with all of my guests for the past couple of months. At some point in the conversation, it comes back into
Mm,
my mind that one of these days, God will reveal to you the mystery of your history. Although I don't write it down to say it. It just like out of conversation, it just popped back into my mind. And listening to your story that doesn't make any sense to the human mind, and in God's assessment, He concludes that Suveda can manage this, and He's using this as
mm,
a process for you, and He's taking you somewhere, and I'm not too sure where that is because
yeah.
He didn't let me in on the secret, but I'm sure He's taking you somewhere, and one of these days you'll be able to look back and say, God, in your wisdom, this is your
Mm,
purpose. And
yeah.
and, and my wife said earlier, there's a purpose for your life, and I don't know what it is, but 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 there is a purpose. There's a
Yes.
purpose,
Yes.
and you have accomplished a lot of things already, but
Yeah.
but there is still yet something left in your purpose. And my hope is one of these days that God will, when you hit that landmark,
Mm-hmm.
that God will unveil this truth to you, that Saveda, this is your purpose. And in
Yeah.
all that you have been through, and all that I have sustained you with grace to bring you
Mm.
through, here you are, and this point in your life where I want you to look back and say, God, I'm thankful. You're amazing.
True. Yeah. I feel this is more like an edifying process. God chooses some people and He wants to edify you.
Mhm.
And what is His purpose? Why He wants to do it? Because, we don't know why we have so many galaxies. We don't know why we have so many solar systems. We are just one planet which has life, but we have so many planets that revolve around us. Why do we even have the Milky Way? It's just for His greatness. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's very difficult for us to understand. So, if He is using me to reveal His greatness, and if He's trying to say that, yes, despite everything, if you're actually there and if you can submit to Him and not talk anything against your Creator, the Sustainer, um, everything, and you just say, yes, this is what it is. Maybe it's just my small way of saying, I'm alive and I would want to be the way I am is only because of His grace, and only because He is there with me. So maybe it could be a story for somebody to get inspired. Or, I mean, we have a very small life if we have to look at it, because we don't know when it's going to be when we would be history. But
Hmm.
if you can make something of that life, I think that's what he's trying to give us, an everyday opportunity. Not a lot of us understand that, tomorrow you might go, you might stay, but what matters is today, and what matters is now. And if you can live that every moment and that every day for him, around him, I think the remaining things that we're actually running after, chasing after, whether it's money, whether it's people, whether it's relationships, or whether it's trying to be in somebody's good books or whatever, that will all be achieved, because that's all worldly. The
Mm.
sooner we realize that we are attached too much to the world, and that's not what we have to be, and we have to be more attached towards a heavenly journey, and
Mm.
I think then all of us can probably get this kind of grace where you're like, okay, we are here for a temporary time, and we have to do what we have to do. Are we able to do that, or are we not? Because nobody's going to question us we if we had a very great weekend, or did you have the best line of clothes, or did some celebrity meet you, because a celebrity is just another person. So I mean, we have such unrealistic goals in life, but I think if people can keep the one single goal to reach heaven, what is it that you have to go there to get the crown of glory? To make sure that, I mean, if you take all of the words in the Bible seriously, it's all the more easier for us to practice those elements. It's time. We've been studying too much of the Bible. We've heard enough of preachers. We've heard enough of people talking so many things. But then, where are you in all of it? That's what
Mm.
matters, because
Wow.
you can hear inspirational stories. You can hear a lot of Bible preachers. They can give you perspectives, of course, anointing of the Holy Spirit from everyone. But where is your anointing? Where is your role that you are playing? Because he's doing his part. The preacher is doing his part. He's got his ticket reserved, of course. But what about you? I mean, if we can understand that, and if you can look at that as your element for, or that is your spirit to move on in life, because if you're holding on to something very simple, that you need somebody to live with, you need a relationship, and you need people to help you, or you need money to move on. I think all of those are means, and those are some things that are freely given by God, and you don't even need to seek it, because if you've seeked him, that's all that matters, because he'll get everything organized for you. And you need to have that faith. So that's what I believe.
Amen. You are an incredible, incredible young lady in all aspect that I am aware of, and I can, do my own little assessment. You are an incredible young lady. Uh, uh, your faith, your trust, your confidence, your relationship, your assessment, your ability to process and put into perspective, it's just not just average. It's not average. That's amazing. You are amazing. I'm glad that I have gotten to know you. I don't even know how. I only God knows. Only God knows. For the couple of times that I came to India and ran into your family, and I remember when I was there, I think you went off to studies, and I think we kept in contact when you were gone to college somewhere or to study
Yeah.
somewhere, and I think that's how the connection remained.
Hmm.
God is just amazing because I would not have gotten this story had not we into that kind of connection um 12 years ago. My goodness, I haven't even kept in touch with Pastor Gulshan as much
Hmm.
as I do with you. As much as he's in New York, upstate New York. I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
kept in touch with him as much as I do with you. I said there is something about that special about it, and I don't know
Hmm.
why, but I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for your testimony, for your experience, for your story, for your approach. Um, and I think there's a lot that a lot of us could learn from your approach to your struggles and your suffering.
Yeah.
A lot of us couldn't process and hold on to what you've been through. And again, The fact that God knows all things. He maybe would not put me through the things he put you through. Maybe he wouldn't put
Yes.
my sister or the brother, somebody is listening here on this line. Maybe he wouldn't put them through what he allow you to go through because he know they
Yeah.
couldn't manage it. But then we all have our own cycles of life. We all have our own
Mm.
stories. We all have our own experiences, and they differ one from the other. But God knows our limit. You talk about
Yes.
tolerance level, the ability to process things and remain sane, remain,
Yeah.
keep my sanity and all of that. That is
That's
just amazing, 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 amazing.
that's the toughest part, trying to be vulnerable. I mean, I think many people think vulnerability is probably a weakness, but trying to show your vulnerability, but knowing where your strength lies in, that's the key. If your
Mhm.
vulnerability as a human to another human is exhibited, you're at least telling them this is the kind of pain that we are going through, and the pain is real. Of course, the pain is real. Of course, the struggle is real. But if your strength lies in a God that is above everything, and He's the creator, He's the sustainer, so that's
Amen.
where that's what you need to showcase. I mean, pain is immense. I can't even, I mean, I don't want to talk about the pain that I've gone through because, when you suffer in silence and the Lord is with you. But,
Mhm.
if you can, if that suffering can be doubled because of His grace and because of His strength, and you have renewed energy and you can help somebody else come out of their pain, it's not necessary that somebody else has to go through this magnitude of pain to accept the Lord or to know
Right,
the Lord.
right.
It's the idea that the Lord is trying to say is, even in the smallest of the smallest things, be faithful. I mean, it's not some rocket science. Of course, it's not as difficult as investment management and portfolio management that we spoke, where we have to get the theories right. But we all humans fail in such a small, significant part that the Lord asks. Just be faithful. That's it. Just be faithful. Have faith in me. And He's not even asking us a lot. It's just a very small thing, and that's something that we're not able to give. And you expect a lot in return. I think that's not a fair deal at all. You need to give in the most, probably the least, and then you can see what He does with you. In case He doesn't do anything with you, also, just hold on to that, because I've seen off late a lot of people in our country, also Christians. There's a lot of this, give and take. If you have faith in God and if you do this, God is going to do that for you. I mean, he never said that He's going to do this for you. I mean, some people try to bribe God, which is really weird, which is not right, because what can you bribe Him with? Everything belongs to Him. I mean,
Right,
even
right.
you. So, I mean, the only thing that you can probably bribe Him is with your faith, with your heart, with your honesty, with your love. That's it. And you don't have anything to offer except yourself. And the sooner we realize that we are nothing in this universe, the faster we can accept, failure or defeat or pain, or you can help somebody else go through that pain. That's what I believe.
You are incredible. You are an amazing young lady, and my prayers and my friends who are here are praying with you and for you. And I'm sure a lot of people are praying with you and for you, and
Yeah.
hope that as God has continued to keep you by His grace, that eventually He will show you, He will show you what is behind all of this, what is
Yes.
behind all of this, and one day He will unveil the covered things, the veiled things. One of these days He will unveil those things, and when the imperfect mind becomes perfect, the things that we do not now understand, we will understand it, and then we can digest it and say, God, if you had unveiled that to me back then, I wouldn't be able to handle it. But thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your impartation. Thank you for just being who you are. And as far as we are from each other, just know we're still so connected. And I love you, and cheer for you, and wish you the best, and wish that God just pour down on you His blessings and His grace, and that He will open a door up, open back one of those doors for you. Open back one of those doors, and open it so wide that you can run into it. They talk
Yes.
about the righteous run into it and be as I hope that God open a door so big and so wide for you that you can just run into it or just drive into it and
Yeah.
then just glorify him for all of his goodness and his
Yes.
mercy and his grace. You are an incredible young lady. And you don't have to you don't have to do it for yourself. You can just take it from me. That you are an incredible young lady. And those of us who know, and my wife who loves you dearly,
Oh,
she would tell you the same thing. She would tell you the same thing. Actually, she said she put up there when we just started. She's amazing, and she just knew because of your first testimony and just tapping it off with this time. Just, just what's the word I want to use? Confirm or affirm that you are for real. You are for real. It's not fake. It's not wash over. You are for real. God bless you.
thank you so much, Uncle.
And
But
those are
truly,
my friends who are hearing the birds in the back. Just let you know that it is 8:24 a.m. in New Delhi, in Bangalore, India. It's 8:24 a.m. So the birds are just awake. You can hear them.
yeah.
Outside.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What's your parting words? So nice to have you.
Um, I would just want to thank everyone who's been praying for me, including you, of course, Auntie and you. You've been great strengths, and I think everyone who believes in the Lord. Uh, I think the greatest strength that they have is prayers. Prayers is something that cannot be taken away from us. And
Mm.
prayer is the only weapon that we can defeat the adversary. And
Hmm.
adversary can attack us from every possible way, but prayers is the only defense mechanism and the only point of connect between us and our Father. And it's very easy. It's
Wow.
very easy to do, and I think we should do it more often.
Mm.
We should do it more often than we check our mobiles. So I think we need to pray very, very often and just pray about anything. Just keep praying because I think when we talk about prayer, it's not about really wonderful, flowery language or excellent words or how well you articulate. It's about just saying what you want to say and letting him know because you know he's listening to you and never give up on him because he's never given up on you. He's never given up. He's never given up on Abraham. Why would he give up on you? Sometimes, we always look at the Lord in the Bible as a God of Old Testament. And we're like, oh, he was a great God for Abraham. He was a great God for Jacob. He was a great God for Isaac or anybody for that matter. But he's still the same God and he still loves us. So I think we should accept him and not give up on him because he has never given up, and we give up very soon. We that's my parting words. Just hold on to him, whatever happens.
Ooh. God
Yeah.
bless you. God bless you. God bless you, Suveda. God bless you. God bless you, my friends, joining us wherever you're joining us from. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you have not yet followed me on Facebook, I hope that you'll do that now. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Facebook. And don't forget, it's not late to hit your share button. If you have been inspired, if you have been blessed, just hit your share button and share it with some friends or just share it to the public because this word of encouragement and inspiration will help somebody, some friend, some family, somewhere. You never know. You never know what it might do just by you sharing it. You never know what it might do to save somebody's life, to give somebody hope. And that's what this ministry is all about. People get a chance to share their stories and bring inspiration and hope to those who may be in the same predicament that they have found themselves in, but how God helped them to come through it. All right. I look forward to seeing you next time, God's willing. Next week, Wednesday, there'll be another Let's Talk with the Doc, and every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Occasionally, I might have a pop up like tonight where it is a special edition. I had to get Suveda on in this tonight. I had to get her on. She's just one beautiful, beautiful young lady. I wish that we were not thousands of miles away. um, you
Yeah.
know, I get on the plane from Chicago to fly into Delhi, New Delhi, and 15 and a half hours, wheels up, wheels down, 15 and a half hours straight flight before I get into
Mm.
New Delhi, India. So it's a long way away.
Yeah.
But thank God that we are like right here in the same room. That's the power of technology. I
Yes.
thank you, my dear. God bless you. Please say hi to your father. Please say hi to your brother. Please say hi to everybody around. And I look forward to keeping the conversation going as we continue to talk. Right? Stay right
Yes.
there, my friends. God bless you. And you stay right there, Suveda, and we'll
Yes.
say goodbye after I log off. But friends, have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. And if you're just joining and you didn't hear the whole story, once I close it out now, go back and listen, because this might be something that the Lord wants to use to help you to fight through your challenges and your struggles, and to help you to figure out how to have victory, how to trust Him, and how to wait on Him and be of good courage. Have a great night. Until next time, this is Let's Talk with the Doc. Peace. Well, thank you for checking in on ORB Ministries. I trust that you will share with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and stay tuned, because you never know what's next or who will join the conversation.